Illawarra! Illawarra! And people don't believe in Wollongong, doubt us all year. You better start believing because we'll be back next year.
Ball driving. 7 seconds left. He pulls the trigger. Big shot taker. Big shot maker. Tyler Harvey enormous.
Yes, welcome back to the nest of the Hawks Hangouts. Comfy ass couch.
So
yes,
good.
I apologize, parents. I am using a brand new couch. Corey, NBL 2025-26 season, reigning, defending, undisputed. No more. No more. Unfortunately, we did not get there. What else have we got today's episode to wrap this absolute roller coaster?
First, thank our amazing sponsors, bud. That's you've got to do it. That's your job, bro. You know they love you. You're the man. Thank those beautiful sponsors.
Mabel, you too. We absolutely love you. Absolutely appreciate everything. Sammy Aykroyd, 18th Dynasty, and of course our day one sponsors, Prince Brewing. Go check out their Laces Lights Lager. Any of my Americans watching this, it is exactly like a Coors Light. You will absolutely love this. Perfect for a hot day or perfect just to drink in general. Doesn't
Perfect
matter what
today.
time of year it is.
So
Absolutely
good.
perfect.
And I'll be cracking it right now, but I'm currently doing Feb fast and I'm 21 days into it. And it's very tempting, but I only got 7 days to go. So I'm going to stay strong. I got this. But
Yes,
I can't wait to crack one of those. Now, today's episode, mate, we're going to do a review of those final 4 games where they played New Zealand, Sydney, Melbourne, and Tassie. We're going to do our regular segments of Are You Serious? Yeah, nah, and hashtag all the rest of it. We are then going to do a big season review and look forward to next season and what we think as Nuffies needs to happen for these Hawks to turn it around. But let's get started, mate. We're going to try and race through these reviews because it's a big episode. We want to be able to focus on that season review. So we're going to race through those 4 last games. You're going to go first with the New Zealand game. Hit it, buddy.
106-95, obviously a loss. It absolutely killed us to lose to New Zealand again. We were down big. We didn't turn up from the start, allowing a 60-point first half margin. And, mate, PJC sat for most of that first half with 3 fouls.
They still got 60 points in the first
We then
half.
come out, no McGee for the second half, which we're going to talk about later on. Made a comeback, got within 2. Mate, more come on their back than Kim Kardashian. But Blanchfield finishing with 19, Hickey finishing with 14, 10, and 9. Blanchfield, as much as I love you, mate, you stole his triple-double off him. Harvey finished with 19. And McGee, absolutely stupid, finishing the game with 15 and 7 in 13 minutes. That is that game. There is another talking point, which we'll talk about later on for that one. It's a loss. Tick it off.
All right, we're going to move to the next loss, which was against the Sydney Queens. Absolutely pumped us again, 120-94. They seem to absolutely own us this year. And that tradition of one team winning a bunch of games in a row in this arch rivalry has continued. Sydney won 8 in a row, then we won 6 in a row. Now they're on a 4-game winning streak. Hopefully we can shut this down and get on our own next year. But they were really, really comprehensive. They hit their first 10 shots. I was like, going, is this team serious? They just turned up and just turned it on in a game where they really probably could have taken a little bit easy, knowing that they've done really well against the Hawks. And they finished with 7 players in double figures. It was actually a really impressive performance. We got some excitement in that third quarter where we got within 4, 68-64 with 4 minutes left in that third. But then they just ran away with it. Sounds crazy to be within 4 with only 14 minutes to go in the game, and we lose by 26 points. We were only able to score another 30 points from that point on, and they just ran away with it. Total dominations. Hawks, no real big performance. Froling probably was the best with a 14, 6, and 5. Harvey had 16. Peeling had a nice game with 11 and 9. Again, no McGee in this game, which was, again, I don't know whether that was due to injury or whether they were holding something back, but we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. Let's move on to the game that we won, mate. It was a great win. Melbourne.
There is nothing better than beating those absolute dickhead flogs down in Melbourne. I absolutely
We're
love
get
it.
explicit on this episode now.
It's end of season. 100-91, reminding us exactly who is on top. Melbourne, you absolutely choked like you have before. You're going to choke again. And if you somehow lose against Tasmania, I'm going to absolutely riot, because that should be us handing the asses to you.
Ooh.
6 of our players finishing in double figures. It was great. McGee had 22 and 13, confirmed he has an absolute impeccable form against Melbourne. He obviously chopped his 32 and 10 against them. And it's just obviously a matchup that really suited him when he came out and played those games. The killer in that one, a season high, 18 turnovers.
Ouch.
That absolutely freaking killed us and almost cost us the game. Still didn't really do anything for us, because we still have the highest turnover to assist rate this season. It's absolutely
That's
ridiculous.
what's really killed us. It hurt us a lot.
It killed us. It was a joke. But moving on to our last bit of back-to-back. We could always go back-to-back-to-back-to-back-to-back, not like our championships, but we went back-to-back wins, but we could never stagger more than that. Our back-to-back win against Tasmania.
Yeah, so Tassie, mate, we had a great way to finish the season. Wasn't too much on the line, but it was always great to see the Hawks get a big win, 103-70 against Tasmania. Now, Hawks won every quarter. I don't know if there have been many games this season where they've done that, so that was pretty impressive. Tassie did look like, however, they only turned up to try to avoid injury. They do have a lot of significant injuries, and you could sort of feel in the game they went like a little bit off in those 1%ers where they're usually one of the best teams in the league. Before this game, I really did think it was a game the Hawks would win because of that. Because a team who's out of the race, they can play free like the Hawks did. They played with a lot of freedom, no pressure, and it was their last game as the reigning champs. And I always thought that they're going to turn up and have a real crack at this. And everyone wants to win their last game of the season if they're not going to be in the finals.
That stat line.
All right,
oh my
because you want to win, because the Hawks obviously after that game, they've gone out to celebrate the season, and you want to do that after winning a game. There's nothing worse than celebrating after a loss. But the key stat to this game was absolutely unbelievable. Tassie only hit 3 3-pointers. At one stage, I was sure that they were like 0 from
21.
Were they
0 of
No, they didn't
21.
hit. They didn't hit their last 3. I think they were 0 for 14 before they hit one. They couldn't have hit. They didn't hit their last 3.
They were close to like 0 from 20 at least.
That means they would have hit their 3 or 4 of their last ones. But the Hawks were 13 of 31, and we've said if they get over 10, and it was on the back of QJ and Harvey. Those two, the backcourt duo, combined for both having 20-plus points and shooting a great efficiency from the 3. They're both over 50% from 3, which is awesome for them. I think Tyler was 6 of 10 and QJ was 3 of 6. So they combined for 9 of those 13 threes. And the Twin Towers, McGee again put on a show in his last game. He just looked like he was having fun, dunking on people. And both him and Froling had great double-doubles to finish the season. But I have to say, it's always great to see the Hawks win, finish on a good note, and we both always enjoy every Hawks win, no matter where we are on the ladder. But it did leave us with that feeling that what could have been this season if we just were able to win a couple more games. I did say a long time ago that I thought the target was 15 and 18, and it's turned out to be correct. If we could have got to 15 and 18, we would have been in that 6th spot. So it's a little bit disappointing. We only fell a couple of games short of that. But now we're going to move on to our regular segments, mate. So I'm going to throw at you our Are You Serious moments for these last couple of rounds. And you're going to tell me which one you think is the biggest Are You Serious moment. The first one is the QJ Peterson door incident. All right. He got called for his 5th foul, I believe. He stormed off the court, hammered the door. It came back at him in the face. He actually could have been really dangerous. I'm laughing, but this is not funny at all. There was a employee of the stadium just behind the door, and if you push the other door, he would have absolutely knocked her out, and it could have caused some serious damage, and it would have been some serious fines going QJ's way. So he probably can consider himself lucky, but I thought it was a massive overreaction from QJ. He looked super frustrated, and to storm off the court and do something like that, they show the vision of the blood coming down his face. Big Are You Serious moment. Next one, the are you serious moment of McGee being sat for the second half
Oof.
against New Zealand and also not playing against Sydney. We don't think it was an injury related. We think it was a tactical related. And you can see by what happened in the game, we were down by about 20. We did get all the way back to being with 2 without him being there. He did play really well offensively, had 15 points and 7 rebounds, but allowing 60 points with him on the floor, New Zealand did have a lot. They didn't have Menenga and they were missing some bigs, but the guys who did play in the big positions like Rob Lowe, they're stretch guys who can shoot the threes. Not McGee's ideal. He brings him away from the basket. So I think it was a tactical moment there. And the next are you serious moment, and this, I'm still not over it. No Wani Swakala lockdown in the nominations for Defensive Player of the Year. Like, I'm not saying he should win it. He should be, I think he's in the top 3. I'm not saying he should be the winner this year, but for him not to be in the nominations of about 6 people, and one of them being Nick Marshall, really? We just scored 103 on that team. I didn't see him locking down anyone. And Will Magnay, a great defender, but he's missed like 10 games. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It should be an eligibility criteria that, similar to what the NBA has. I know they've obviously got almost 3 times the amount of games that we have, if not more, if you include finals and going for bigger championships, which, you know what, good on them. They get paid the $20 million a season that they get paid. Our guys get paid maximum $1 million, $1.2 million, depending on what kind of contracts they're on.
There's only 4 of those guys who get $1 million, so there's not many. But
so my thing is, again, you've got someone here, and it is the are you serious moment, because QJ, we all get frustrated. I've done it. I've been injected from a snake pit twice this season. I get you, mate. I get it. It was an absolutely tough as nails shot of you, blood dripping down your face. I respect it. Mad appreciation. McGee sitting versus New Zealand. Yeah, you know what? We got it back within 2, and then we absolutely blew it like we always do, because that just seems to be how our season rolled this year. Teams just liked to find form, let us come back into the game, and then go, haha, you got a sniff. See you later. But yeah, for me, it is no one in the nominations. I don't think you can have that bloke not being in the nominations when he's held Chris Goulding to 6 points. He's held Bryce Cotton scoreless in a half of basketball.
Yeah.
He's held Chris Goulding scoreless in a half of basketball. All of these elite 3-and-D players that they like to mention, your John Browns, your Nick Marshalls, Owen Foxwells, Chris Gouldings, Flynn Cameron. That's great and all, but one, he's blocking, he's assisting, his points, his rebound. He's doing it on both ends of the floor. And obviously at the Hawks MVP ball last night, got Defensive Player of the Year 3rd year in a row. Yeah, 3rd year in a row is absolutely saying something when he's going out there and putting basically everything on the line to stop that one person for however long they're on the court.
I always go as far as say I think it's the are you serious moment of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, for not to be nominated at all is like total disrespect for a guy who is probably arguably a top 3 defender in the league for 3 or 4 seasons, and to put other people in front of him who I wouldn't even have heard anyone say that they're a great defender. It's just total disrespect, and it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Now, I think a defensive player should be rated on how well they stop the best players on other teams. And Wani consistently has done that. The other stats to me, like how many points you score, how many rebounds you get, how many assists you give, doesn't come in a defensive player. Like obviously steals, some type of rebounding, yes. But what would you say is a better defender? The person who forces a poor shot that leads to a miss, or someone who gets the rebound, who's just standing on the rim to get that rebound? What is a better defensive play? The person who's forcing a poor shot, not the person who's close to the rim, who's big and just gets the rebound. Like to me, that's not the defense. It's the guy's ability to stop the guy, get steals, all right, cause deflections, all right. Those are the things that sometimes they don't come up in stats. That's a Defensive Player of the Year nominee. And I feel like I've had conversations with other people and they say, oh, this person averaged 10 plus rebounds. Like, I don't really care. Like, if the rebounds, someone's missing the shot, it's because someone's defended them. It's very rare the person who's defending the person who's shooting gets the rebound. Someone else gets the benefit of that defense because the person's focusing on that defense, that they get the rebound. So I don't know how that comes into like being a good defensive player, but I thought that was arguably the serious moment of the year. We're going to move on to yeah, nah, our next segment. I'm going to throw some yeah, nahs at you. I want you to give me bang, a yay or a nay. First one, McGee to play for the Hawks in 2027 or 2026/2027.
Nope.
No, it's a nah. All right, I'm going to tend to agree, but I'll go into my reasons why in our looking forward to the next season. Next one, losses to New Zealand. The 4 losses to New Zealand this season cost us badly.
What did we finish on? 14 and 19?
13 and 20.
13 and 20.
They finished on the same.
So, so we would have been, what, 17 and 17?
Yeah.
17, 17 or 17?
17
and 16. So
even if we beat them twice.
That's almost 5th.
But even if we beat them twice, we're 15, and that's what we get. We get to 6.
15 and
but
18.
I think that's a key thing. I think
they killed us.
That is a definite yeah. Next one, Hawks got no favors this season with the draw. Yeah or no?
I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one. It's not going to be too long, but after being at the MVP ball last night, which was absolutely amazing, Big Joe, Emma, Amber, everyone that absolutely put on a beautiful event. Like, I appreciate you having me. It was absolutely beautiful. I appreciate it. It's the second time that I've been. Obviously, last year we were gearing up towards a finals run and ultimately won our second championship in club history. This year, obviously on a bit of a somber note, but we're going to talk about that in a later segment later on with moving forward. But after speaking to some of these players, a lot of them are either taking a break from basketball for a bit, or they're going back to see family, or they're going and doing something else before then returning back to basketball, because they haven't had a break. They went all throughout that season, got all the way to the finals, which was longer than every other team that didn't make the finals. They won the championship. Then most of them went and played NBL 1, especially someone like Toddy Blanchfield has then come and played NBL 1 for the Hawks. They've then gone all throughout the NBL 1 season. They've then played the NBL 1 finals. They've then gone to Canberra and played NBL 1 Nationals, which is also when the Blitz was on at the same time. And then they've done the Blitz and they played the 2 games, which we covered when we went down there. Then straight after that, they've gone to Singapore. They've spent 5 days in Singapore playing the 3 games that they played. Then they've come all the way back from Singapore back to Australia to then have our first home game, which was the banner drop, and then straight into like 4 away games. Straight into 4 away games, with one of them being New Zealand, one of them being Perth. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah, we
got absolutely shafted
and
this year.
To add with that, like, obviously we did speak a lot about the have to play Perth 3 times in Perth, but I looked a little bit deeper at the end of the season, because the way it's structured, you play 33 games. All right, there's 9 other teams in the comp. So if you play everyone 4 times, that's 36 games. So you obviously don't play everyone 4 times. So there's 3 teams, you play 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our 3 teams this season were Adelaide, which is not a bad draw because they were one of the better teams. But the other 2 teams, unfortunately, who we only played 3 times, were the 2 bottom teams, Cairns and Brisbane. Now, I don't just like to disrespect anyone, but let's be honest, Brisbane would have been basically a guaranteed victory. And Cairns,
put up a fight, but really didn't.
Cairns, I would have backed us to beat them, either it was home or away. So that is 2 wins that we probably could have had, especially say those were replaced by, we didn't play New Zealand because New Zealand's one of the teams that beat us. And then even if it was at Southeast Melbourne or Sydney, but we always play Sydney because they're close to us. So, but that's 2 games that we could have won, and that would have put us in the top 6. So I think we did get a little bit shafted with the draw, but obviously being champs, you're always going to get probably the tougher draw next year.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I guess they don't know who's going to be good the following season, but it just panned out that way. So in hindsight, it was a pretty poor draw for us.
Yeah.
The next one, Bolden, who was a bit of the forgotten man, could have made a difference to this Hawk season. Yeah or nah?
I definitely think he could have, because I think he finally found a club that fit the mold that he has made his game to be. Obviously, he's an NBA veteran. He's played for the 76ers. He's come to the NBL. He's played for the Kings. He's played for the Breakers. And now obviously being with the Hawks, I actually thought the Hawks were a great fit for him. He was that stretch forward that we were needing for quite some time now. We obviously had due up briefing in 2021 with Gorge. And similar to this year, most of that team was then back. We had Toddy, we had Harry back, we had Tyler, we had Greeter, we had Sam, we had all of these players that were in that team basically back again this year. And obviously without due up, because he's overplaying in the NBA on a multi-million-dollar contract at the moment. But that then next local big that you could have kind of had in there was Jonah Bolden. Had that NBA experience, had been over there, had been in the league, knew the league really well, knew the other players in the league and knew he could match up well. And I was actually excited for it at the start of the season. At the Blitz, I thought he had an outstanding Blitz. We didn't get to see JaVale because he hadn't come to the country yet. In the preseason games over in Singapore, I thought he had a great game. In his limited minutes and limited time here, I thought he did some fantastic things, was stretching the floor, could knock the three, could defend, had some awesome blocks, had a great few dunks, could hit the rim, but could also dish the ball as well, which is exactly what you want from a local big, who can draw the crowd, can clog the lane, kick it out, you kick it out again. And it's a play that we've seen that McGee drew the players, kicked it out to Harvey. He's kicked it straight back to Wani. Wani hits the three against Tasmania the other night. It was absolutely beautiful to watch. That's how they should have been playing all year. And they could have been playing like that all year with multiple of these big men rotating in and out. And it would have just made it a nightmare for other teams. But obviously, it's the season that wasn't. It was the season of injuries. We've had everyone out. You know,
it's one of those things that we'll never know. Like Bolden was an interesting addition. I thought he was a really good passing big guy, like you mentioned, and JaVale showed he could pass the ball quite well as well. Froling also had some games where he had some nice assists, getting those catches at the free throw line. But yeah, I don't know. Jonah's a tough one. Like we all know what he's capable of, and all those things like make teams interested because he does have all those. He's a strong defender. He's a really great rebounder, and he can hit the three. But he just in the games he played, he didn't really have many scoring games. I know he had limited games, but all we would have needed from him this year was to average maybe 8 to 10 points and get you like
5 or 6
rebounds,
yeah.
and that would have been great. But in the games, I think he only averaged 4 points and a few rebounds, and we probably would have needed a little bit more out of it. So it's hard to say if he would have. He's the sort of guy that we did need, that stretch guy, because he can hit the three. But I don't know. I just don't know whether his head's totally in basketball at the moment. Everyone from talking around sounds like he's a great guy, but it's one of those things we'll never know. So let's move on to our final segment before we do our season review, hashtag and all the rest of it. Now, this is going to focus on not the Hawks, because the Hawks are unfortunately out of it. We're going to talk about who makes the grand final and who we think wins it. So I'll start first. And I think based on where teams have finished, I think Sydney finishing first, minor premiers, I think they're absolute morals to make the grand final, just because I think their run's a little bit easier. They'll avoid probably playing against, well, they'll definitely avoid playing Adelaide, and most likely, not guaranteed, will avoid playing SEM, who I think are the biggest dangers. I think Sydney have the other teams covered quite comfortably. And so I think they'll get a fairly cruisy run to the GF. And I'm not as confident, but I stick with what I said. I think Southeast Melbourne, I've said them all season because they just remind me of the Hawks from last year, but the Kings are starting to remind me of them as well. So I'll stick with them. I think they'll make the grand final. So I think it'll be a Sydney Southeast Melbourne grand final. But I saw a couple of things that worried me in that game against Melbourne for Southeast. They seemed to crumble in the clutch. They made some really poor decisions late, which again was a bit like the Hawks last year in the clutch. They took some poor shots in the last minute. They rushed some shots, Sobey missed a layup. And I've always had that question mark over Sobey is coming up with a really key player in those last seconds of games. He had a great game the other night, don't get me wrong, but when the game's on the line, and similar to Hawks when they won the championship, SEM have been blowing teams out, so they haven't had a great deal of close games. So I question their ability in close games. So I'm going to say, unfortunately, I think Sydney's going to win it all. They just look the goods. They're on a massive 11-game win streak. They've dominated us this season, beating us by a combined 95 points over 4 games, which is ridiculous. The only way I can see them not winning it is if they get an injury to a key player like KD or something, he goes down. That's the only way I think can derail them and stop them from winning. I think SEM, I think they'll make it, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to beat this juggernaut of Sydney. And it comes down to me, the benches. Sydney's bench, ridiculous depth. They've got Torrey Craig, a former NBA player, Delhi, former NBA player, Kawhi Noy in the running for 6th Man of the Year again. And Robinson, who's just had a really great season. If he close to most improved, he's been
Carmen Malawatch.
But Malawatch is starting for them at the moment, so that's why. And then I think SEM's bench is pretty good as well with Mitchell can come in, bigger guy, can hit the 3. Glover, who's been outstanding in line for the 6th Man of the Year as well. Ian Clark, again, got that clutch gene. And Lewis, the next star, that's a pretty solid bench. And that's why I've got those 2 teams making the grand final just over Adelaide. I think they're the only 3 who could. And Adelaide's bench, the main contributors off the bench are Isaac White, DJ Vasiljevic, who hasn't had a great year, if I'm being honest, and Rakocevic, he's been really strong coming off the bench, but they're probably just one less depth-wise than those other 2 teams. So that's who I've got making and Sydney winning the grand final. Who you got, mate?
Got to ask you one more question. Obviously, tomorrow night, we've got the Ignite Cup final. You've got Adelaide, you've got New Zealand. New Zealand, I think, are morals to win it because I don't think Bryce Cotton will play. Because why would you risk injuring your main stars when you've got a grand final series on the line?
$400,000 on the line. And it's
what would you rather? $400,000 or an NBL championship?
Yeah, but there's no guarantee of an NBL championship. There's a long way to go to get to that NBL championship. And this is the first Ignite Cup. It adds to your legacy as Bryce Cotton if you can say you won the first one. It's like when the Lakers won. Did the Lakers win the first
Cup or whatever it was?
NBA Cup the first year? So added to LeBron's going to add that to his legacy. It's just I think Bryce Cotton's going to play.
Right. So he plays, right?
And the NBL is going to want him to play. This is their first Ignite Cup. Yeah. They don't want the first one to be like diminished by teams going, we don't see it as important.
Yeah.
So I think if the NBL will be pushing for him to play, and Bryce Cotton's going to want to play. Like, he's going to want to play. And he's going to want to be the MVP of that game.
I was going to say, he would want to be the player of the game because I'm not too sure if it's on the line for the MVP rankings.
Well, who knows? They could. People are going to watch everything they watch. And if the decision hasn't been made yet, he gets an extra chance to show how good he is. So, yeah, like I think New Zealand are a big chance in the game. Don't get me wrong; they're going to be throwing everything at it, and Adelaide might have their mind a little bit on the finals. I agree, but after this game, they get a big rest with the FIBA Cup anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get a chance to not the FIBA Cup, the FIBA qualifiers. So they get a chance to rest and recover. So I think Adelaide will be going for it, but I think New Zealand might want it a little bit more. And got these guys back. Menenga's back. He played the other day. They're like full strength. I don't know if Baker's back, but Menenga's a massive inclusion for them, and they're every chance. New Zealand at their best, a bit like the Hawks, they can beat anyone. And Adelaide have been a little bit on and off lately, so I think Cotton will play, but I'm gonna tip New Zealand. I think New Zealand's going to win this, and there's a lot of Kiwis who live in the Gold Coast, so I'm going to say that there's going to be a big support base for New Zealand at this game in the Gold Coast. That's my prediction. If you watch it on TV, I reckon most of the crowd's going to be going for New Zealand.
Gazies are obviously Monday night.
Yep.
Finals awards. Obviously, we've got a few people in there nominated for a few awards. Hickey's in there. Obviously, McGee's in there for MVP, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. No Coach of the Year, no 6-man or whatever else we've got in there. Actually, I think Will Hickey's 6-man.
Yeah, to be honest, like it's hard to argue that we need to have people in that. We didn't have a great season, but the only one I think Wani should be there. Hickey for 6th man of the year. Yeah, I agree. He had some good games, but it's hard to argue really anyone else. We've got McGee in the MVP. He has a great season. I don't think he's any chance of winning it. It's a 2-horse race in that one. I think it's a 2-horse race, 6th man of the year too. It's going to be Noy or Glover.
It's a 2-horse race for MVP. You've got 2 teams that finished in the top of the comp.
Yeah.
You've got Sydney and you've got KD for MVP.
Yeah.
You've got Adelaide and you've got Bryce for MVP.
Yeah.
Who's winning MVP? Are they giving it to Kendrick or are they giving it to Bryce to break the legacy, to chase Andrew Gaze, to give him another one because he's an Aussie citizen now?
I think Cotton should win it. I think he has had less help this year. That's what the MVP is about. Doesn't diminish KD, but I think they'll give it to KD. But I think Cotton deserves it based on what I think an MVP is. KD's had a lot of help. Sydney's got an incredible team. I think they got a little bit more depth than Adelaide, and he's had a little bit more help throughout the season. It's crazy to think as well. Lepepe hasn't played at all. Imagine he was in this Sydney team. Blows your mind. So he's had a lot of help, and I think Cotton hasn't had as much help. I would say Cotton, but I think they'll give it to KD. I think Glover deserves 6th man. I think it's an absolute moral that Brown will get Defensive Player of the Year from SEM. Who was some of the other awards?
Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. Oh, I actually think the Coach of the Year is going to go to Brian Gorgeon.
Oh, disgusting.
I think it will. I think it will. I thought Josh King at the start of the year, but you can see they finished first. They started the season really poorly, so he had some adversity with his team, and he definitely has turned around. At one stage, they looked like they weren't playing for him, and now they can't stop saying how good they love him. He stands up for his players. A couple of things he's done this year I haven't agreed with, but I think he'll get Coach of the Year. What are some other awards that they are? The next gen. I think next gen will go to Sam Menenga because I think he's the best player in that.
Yeah.
Froling won that a couple of years in a row because it's an age category thing. I think Menenga's the best player in that group, so he'll win that. He's also nominated in Most Improved. Whether he's improved that much, I think he's always been a good player. I think that'll go to Owen Foxwell. I think he's been a massive improver this year. He's also in the next gen, but I think Menenga's probably the best player in the next gen. But in Most Improved, who I think's improved the most, I'd go Foxwell. All right.
Fair point.
Now, can we press pause for a second and we'll get to our next segments?
And we are back. Sorry, guys. We actually just got breaking news.
Yes.
And it's what we want to discuss now about it. The finalists have just dropped for the NBL Awards. So as we were just saying, top 2 for MVP, Bryce Cotton, Kendrick Davis. They were absolute locks all season. That's what it was going to be. Lindsay Gage, Trophy, Coach of the Year, Brian Gorgeon, Josh King.
Who we said as well, so we'd have to change our predictions.
Defensive Player of the Year, John Brown III, Christian Doolittle, Will Magnay. I think you can write Will Magnay off because he's been out.
Yeah, that is an absolute lock.
It's John Brown.
John Brown. Just give it to him now.
Best 6th man of the year, Angus Glover, Kwat Noy, Majok Deng. I think it's still Glover.
Yeah, Glover or Noy. Deng's a good addition. He has been great, but he's probably been better when he hasn't been the 6th man, when he's had to come in when they've had injuries. So that's been as a starter. Yeah. So I think the other two, but I'm going to go Glover just over Noy.
I think just. And these are the ones that have shocked us the most.
Yeah.
That's why we've stopped. Most improved player, Flynn Cameron, Makoch Malawach, Sam Menenga.
So my guy, Owen Foxwell, is not even in the final 3. To me, I thought I had him as the winner. So I thought Malawach, I agree, has been very, very good, but it's only been late-ish in the season.
Yeah,
so Owen Foxwell's been great, shown a great improvement for the whole season, being a starter. Malawach has only really come in when Bull Quoll went down and sort of took his role a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. I don't know. I feel a little bit. I don't feel that's quite on the mark. Flynn Cameron, I always thought he was a great player though, so I don't see. And the same with Menenga. I feel like they are both already really good players. I thought Flynn was great at Melbourne and Sam was great last year, so that's weird for me. And next one.
And then next gen award, Kareem Lopez, Owen Foxwell, Sam Menenga. So 2 breakers in a Southeast Melbourne.
Well, there you go.
Ridiculous.
Like, I feel in that one there, like if Owen Foxwell's not in the most improved, I feel like he deserves something because Menenga is probably going to get something. But he's probably going to could miss out because I think Menenga's the best player out of that group. And if it doesn't go to Menenga, they might give it to Lopez to like increase.
Menenga all NBL second team.
Yeah, well, they could give it, massive chance. They could give it to Lopez also to increase his draft stocks. So it looks like, he got awarded a next generation player. So he's got an award. Poor old Foxwell might end up with nothing. And I think he's been really, really strong. I never really rated him very highly, but this season he's changed my mind. I think he's really strong at both ends of the court. He's starting for a team who's just finished third in the league in a backcourt that's got no imports.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive.
That's pretty good.
So anyway, we're gonna move on now to our season review. We're gonna go through a few little things. We're gonna start with what we think might be Player of the Year. I've got a bunch of nominations. Sam's gonna say what he thinks it is. I'll give you my opinion as well. So let's get started. Player of the Year. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nominations. The first one is McGee's block versus Perth to win that game in Perth. Great block in the corner. Sensational. He also hit the free throw to get us in front of that game. The next one, Dan the Man Gritter, dunk off that behind the back pass from Hickey. The crowd went mad. The team went crazy. The atmosphere was electric. Thought that was a really great play. Super happy for Dan in that moment. The McGee half-court shot, what could have been a shot that sent it to overtime against Melbourne United. Great moment. I know it didn't count, but that felt in the moment it did, and the crowd just was one of the biggest sounds I've ever heard at the WEC. Next one, McGee's dunk v Brisbane, where he went through his legs a few times and dunked on the young fella Holt. Pretty cool play. And the fifth and final nominee is QJ Peterson's 3 from the logo and his massive 42-point game against Southeast Melbourne. That's a soft spot for me because my young fella was sitting courtside in that game and was pointing at him after he hit the shot, and there's a great photo of him there. So I thought that was a pretty cool play. But what is your Player of the Year?
I think for me, it's definitely that Greeter dunk with the Hickey pass. There was a lot of tenacity on that defensive end. They've gone down. Hickey's gotten the ball. He's just flipped it behind his back, and Dan Greeter just went whack, and the place absolutely erupted. He ended up having a career night. He's been the most improved player for me this season.
Yeah.
And it's why he got that award at the MVP ball last night. He got the most improved player because he just is, man. He has absolutely come out. He has shone. He has stepped up into a role which was kind of Davo's role last year and what I was expecting him to play this year if things had gone the way that I thought it was going to go. But, I'm not the one getting paid the big dollars to sit in a chair and build a team around what I think is going to happen. But for me, I definitely think it was Greeter. Greeter was an absolute beast this year. He's my boy. Go enjoy your well-earned rest, mate. We'll see you soon.
Pretty tough to disagree. It was a great play, and I just love the reaction of his teammates on that play. You could see they were electrified for him. Pretty hard to disagree with that play, but I'm going to go with the QJ 3 from the logo. We all were hoping when QJ came, it was one of his early games that he could be the guy who could and he ended up scoring 42 points. I think it's the most points from an individual player in Hawks history, and that 3 in an overtime game was probably one of the best games of the season and at home. And it was just a great moment. Like I said, obviously, with my young fella getting to sit courtside, thanks Dan and Beck for allowing him to do that. But that added to it. He'll never forget that moment because he was there for it. We'll always remember that shot and that 42-point game, and it just sealed the game for the Hawks. So let's move on to the next thing. Highlight of the year. We've got a bunch of nominees here. First nominee is the banner being raised to the rafters at the WEC. Next one, our win against Adelaide, the team Tatum could not beat, and we finally got a win. Great game. And I remember the noise when we won that game where Cotton missed it and they missed the putback. It was huge. It kept our season alive at the time. That win that I just mentioned against SEM in the overtime game with QJ going off. The win in Perth, obviously we mentioned before, with the free throw and then the McGee block. Frolling's return from injury. Now, we're all worried about was he going to play at all this year, and he came back and he was a really great contributor. We were worried about how much he's going to contribute. He came back and his first few games were outstanding. Had a little bit of a down, but he finished strong again. And I think it shows that Froling is a person we can build around, and we'll talk about that as we talk about how we look moving forward into next season. The Hickey triple-double. And they said in a telecast the other day that it was the only triple-double of the whole season in the NBL. So mad effort from Davor Hickley. And this is the final one. And if you told me at the start of the season, I would say there's absolutely no chance of this happening. And it's a weird highlight. And it's probably not going to win, but I think deserves to be mentioned. The 27 from 27 free throws, which is an NBL record. And the Hawks have traditionally been an awful team from the free throw line. What is your highlight of the year, my man?
I think you and I have the same one. Do you want to say it on three? Ready? One, two, three. The banner raising. You cannot argue with that. I think you obviously being there for the first one. Me, I obviously wasn't there, so I've had to live all throughout the stories, watch the videos, having to hear it from everyone, and then actually finally getting to see them win one. You saw how emotional we both got. You saw the championship episode. If you haven't, it's linked in the comments. But for this one, like, you just could not get past it. It didn't matter if we didn't win that game. Would have been nice if we won that game. Tassie came and spoiled it for us, but whatever. Like, we rose a banner.
It was great.
We put it in the ceiling. They played We Are the Champions. We all shed a tear because we were like, holy shit, that's what that means to us.
Yeah, it was a great moment, and you can see the players really enjoyed it. And that game against Tassie, we were down. I think we were down a key player. It's hard to remember who it was, but I know we were undermanned.
Oh, we had no Hickey and we had no Frawley.
Yeah, and we were like, a chance to win that game was actually quite a close game. And yeah, it was a great moment. You're going to remember that forever. And a great thing at the end of the season in our last home game, you saw the cameraman in the last moments of that game against Sydney just scroll up just to remind everyone that, you know what, we were the champions, the reigning champions for this season, and they went and panned to the banner in the rafters, and just to show that. And I've said too, like, I'm not going to be greedy. I always want the Hawks to be competitive, but like that memory is going to keep me happy for a long time. So I agree with highlight here. Let's move on now. This is not the so good. The low light of the year, and there were a few, unfortunately. The 40-point hammering, and we only scored 60 points in this game, at home to New Zealand Breakers. Losing to the Sydney Queens 4 times this season by a combined 95 points. The Darvo Hickley moment where the commentator just completely got his name wrong in a moment where he hit a game winner. The loss to SEM in overtime. Now, like, we could have won that game. That could have had a huge impact on our season if we got over the line there. The loss to Cairns when Cairns had 2 key players out, and one of them was McVeigh and the other one was an import, I believe. It was they had 2 starters out. It might have been Wardenberg. It was 2 key starters out in that game, and they still got the chocolates quite comfortably against us. And other low light, losing to New Zealand 4 times when that team only won 13 games. So basically a third of New Zealand's wins this season came against us. So that's crazy. What is your low light of the year?
I think the New Zealand one is probably going to take the cake. I think because, as we said before the episode, you take those 4 wins, and even if you split it, that makes us 15 and 18, which is what we said was going to get us into the playoffs. You take all 4 wins, which we could have if we had.
Especially a team who looked like they struggled, same record as us, and they had 4 wins against us. Yeah,
if we had won all 4 of those games, completely different story. That takes us to 17 and 16, and we're firmly, comfortably in that race. I think it almost overtakes us with Melbourne at this point in time. I'm not too sure, but I'm going to get into my predictions on that later on. But I think that one hurts the most because it's like, what could have been if only we won those games, especially with how we started playing at the back end of the season once everyone was healthy. If we had that from the start of the season, it would have been a what could have been, which is what everyone said, what could have been.
Yeah, this is a hard one because I could make an argument for many of them. Special mention to the loss to SEM because I think we were 1 defensive rebound away from winning that game. They got it with not many seconds to go, kicked it to Glover. ex-Illawarra guy, and he nails a 3 that sends it to overtime, and then they absolutely destroyed us in overtime. But we were dead set 1 defensive rebound away from winning that game. The Cairns game, we were never really in it. We didn't really turn up in that game, but that SEM. But I'm going to say my low light is losing to the Kings after winning 6 in a row against them and losing them 4 times. Not just losing to them, actually getting pumped by them 4 times hurts, because as a Hawks fan, many years we weren't winning competition. So it's a bit like Liverpool fans. They judge their season on beating Everton and beating Man United. And then after that, if they can win the title, that's great. And it's a bit like a Hawks fan. I think we judge our season on let's beat the Kings. And then after that, we'll try to finish as high on the ladder as we can. And then if we can try to win a championship, fantastic. To lose them 4 times and get smacked, I'm not going to lie, it hurt. And it looks like the streak could go on a little bit longer, because they're not close. It's not close. They just look like they own us. So that's going to be my low light of the year. Now, so away from the negatives, we're going to go to who we think is the Hawks player of the year. There's probably, we've talked about this pre-episode, and I think we're going to agree who the player of the year, our player of the year is. But I think there's a special mention. A lot of people probably think it's going to be JaVale McGee. He is not our player of the year, but he deserves a special mention, because there's not many players who average 19 and 10, very close to averaging 20 and 10. I actually can't remember a player.
We said that at the start of the season. If he averages 20 and 10, we almost win a championship.
And it just hasn't worked out that way. But I can't remember the last player in the NBL to average 20 points and 10 rebounds. I'll have to,
with 2 blocks.
And 2 blocks. Game. If anyone knows, tell me. But I don't think it's been in recent times. Like even a player like Cooks, who won an MVP, didn't average 20 and 10. He was probably like 15 or 16 and 10, or maybe even less than 10. And he won an MVP. He had obviously a good assist average and stuff like that as well. Yeah. But I can't remember the last time someone averaged 20 and 10. And if they did, they probably were MVP in the league. So, and what the key thing for McGee is, we were all talking here at the start of the year, his free throw was a walking cheeseburger. He was going to build us another stadium with his bricks. And he was shocking. We lost the game in Singapore because of his free throw shooting. We were like, oh, God, he's not going to be able to be on the court at the end of games because they're just going to hack him. And Froling also is not the greatest free throw shooter. Who they're going to have on the court at the end when the game's on the line. And, man, he turned it around. There was a time there where I felt like he couldn't miss, and he was nothing but literally
couldn't miss. He
finished with a 75% free throw percentage, and his career is 60%. So he's improved that by 15. That is very impressive, I have to say. So shout out to JaVale, but he's not our player of the year. Our player of the year is the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Gritter. All right. Mullet man is our player of the year. And these are the reasons why I'm going to say you've already thrown out earlier on why you think he's amazing. And I agree with all those. But I'm going to say I think he's the only player this year for the Hawks who actually improved. All right.
Yeah.
Other players maybe stayed at the same level, maybe dropped a little bit, but he's the only one who made step forwards in his game and in his confidence. He's shot the ball, that 3 ball, which has always probably been a little bit of his weakness. All right, players were at probably about over 40%, which is the best he's ever shot it. And that's added to his game. He didn't shoot a lot, a bit like Wayne. He doesn't shoot it a lot, but when he has, it's been at an efficient rate, and that's all we need from Gritter. But I don't know if you know this stat, mate. I looked into this and did a lot of research on this. Dan Gritter is the only player for the Hawks this year for over the whole season to have a positive plus-minus. Only player. It was only +1, but
doesn't matter.
Every other player was in the negative, and you can see because by our record that was going to be the case. And plus, also we did get some absolute wallopings this season when I was always raving on about how the Hawks don't get flogged under Tatum. Well, that changed this season, and so you can see why. But he's the only one, the only player with a plus-minus in a positive. So that's why he is my player of the year. He just is exactly what encompasses what it is to be an Illawarra Hawk player. He just plays with his heart in his sleeve. I just honestly feel, I just don't think he's going to leave us. I think he's going to be a career guy at the Hawks, and I hope that happens. And he seems like he would want that to happen. Everyone loves him. That I've never seen like a player who had celebrated a certain amount of games, 150. How many people came out in mullets and his t-shirts, and he's just so well loved. And And there was a stat saying it took him so long to get to 100 games, but his next 50 only took him
18 months.
18 months. But the first 100 took him years upon years, like
about 7 years.
It's so crazy. So we said at the start of the year that this guy, if he can stay injury free, he could have a breakout season like Dave O'Hickey did, and he definitely did. And hopefully, it's only
just the start.
Upwards for him from here, and he can continue that trajectory and be like a special player and maybe challenge for a 6th man of the year in the NBL, because he definitely has that.
Oh yeah,
ability.
Easily.
All right.
Easily.
So now that is the year wrapped up.
Done.
So we are now going to look at moving forward. So 2027 and beyond. Now we're going to forget about this year. We had some great moments, obviously, but overall it wasn't the best season for the Hawks, especially after winning a championship. But we're going to forget about it and say, what can we do to make sure we don't have a season like that again? Now, I feel like this is a huge off-season for the Hawks for a couple of reasons. All right, we have a lot of players signed for next year in 2027. A lot of players locked up, which is great. But only 2 locked up for 2028, and that's Toddy and Froling. All right. So this offseason needs to make us competitive for 2027, but also get players locked up for 2028. Now, I'm going to say this to you. Fans have turned up this year on the back of us winning championships, even though we weren't having a great season. And I loved, and this could have almost been close. I could have added this to a nominee to the highlight of the season. The Illawarra chant going up when we're down 25 points against our hated arch rivals, the Kings, in our final home game as defending champions. All right. It was an absolute show of respect from the fans, showing, you know what, even though it wasn't a great season, you guys gave us a great season last year and we're going to be here for you. And I know a lot of people left, but the fans who did and stuck around and did that chant, it was actually a really special moment. It showed what the fans are like. I don't think many teams in the NBL would be chanting for their team down 25 against their arch rivals. But I will say this, if we have another poor season next season, I'm not too sure whether those fans are going to be chanting that or whether they're going to show up in the numbers that they did this year.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, because you can't call yourself a fan. You're not a fan if you don't show up for your team.
Okay, well, people who sit in seats, there won't be as many of those people sitting in seats. And regardless of we call them fans or not, that's the reality of sport. There's some people, and it's also money as well. People can't always afford to go. But if people are going to pay good money to go watch a team play, they obviously want them to be competitive and make it an enjoyable experience. So, and people are going to look elsewhere to spend their money if they're not putting these performances on. And like I said, the Hawks fans just want you to be competitive, not losing by 40 at home or by 25 and 30 to our arch rivals. So what I think needs to happen now, for me, I think the focus in this offseason is we need to sign a proven import point guard. And unfortunately, Hickey, the Hickey experiment and the Hickey starting at point guard, I think overall has been a failure. Don't get me wrong. I think Hickey is he's a great player and will have a 10-plus year career in the NBL, averaging close to double figures in multiple stat categories. He's a special player, but that needs to be as a 6th man, and he needs to embrace that. There's nothing wrong with going down in your career as arguably being the greatest 6th man to ever play in the NBL. And I think that needs to be what his focus needs to be. I think he still needs to improve the 3-point shot, even though it has been a slight improvement this year. I still think that needs to be improved, and he needs to reduce those turnovers. Way too many turnovers, way too many bad turnovers, and in key moments as well. But I think that's why the focus needs to be on in-point guard. I think if you want to challenge for a championship, that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, do you agree?
Exactly. Look at Sydney at the moment.
Yeah.
Look at Adelaide at the moment. They've both got in-point guards. Like it's just not happening without that. It's why we won last year.
And then the 2 guys who are going for the MVP.
Exactly. Like,
so
you can't not.
It's proven in the NBL. Now, like we said earlier, JaVale has been sensational to watch this year. Don't get me wrong. All the kids have loved. I've loved watching him. He's an excitement machine. But I don't think, unfortunately, he's the fit alongside Froling. No. And we've got Froling is our local guy. We've signed him to 2028. Unfortunately, I hope JaVale stays in the league. I just don't know if it's going to be with us. No. And it's just because of that fit. And we got caught out on it. And I think that was one of the reasons why he got sat in that game. The fit wasn't right. Teams who can have those guys who stretch us out It's just a
Not only
matchup
that, but
nightmare.
people figured it out. People figured it out that that's what we were just going to do.
Yeah.
So
So
it was just easy.
I think we really need to target a quality local big on a multi-year deal, not just 1 year. Has to be a multi-year who can stretch the floor. Has to be able to hit that three because our three bigs. We had the Bolden. He obviously got injured, but Peatling I know can shoot the three a little bit, but I wouldn't say he's consistent. We need and teams don't necessarily rush out to him when he's got that three. They're almost happy for him to have it. All right. So I think we need to find that and match him with a quality point guard. Hopefully that quality point guard we can lock up for 2 years. Be nice because we need to get these guys signed up for 2028 as well. If this happens, and this is going to be a controversial call, I know a lot of people are going to come at me for this, but I'll explain a little bit later. If this happens, I would run with just the two imports in 2027. A quality import point guard and Harvey. That's what I'll be looking to do. But if that's the case, we've got to lock up Harvey, and it has to be done very soon. He needs to be signed to an extension because if we don't, someone's going to snap him up and we're going to lose him because we need to have him locked up when he becomes a local because then that changes everything, for the Hawks. All right, when he becomes like we have to get him extended, has to happen. Before the end of his contract, it has to happen. We can't allow other teams going yet because he's going to be
He'll be going.
And he loves Eloy. It doesn't matter, but I've heard it all before. Money talks, and if we don't hit it and don't get on, we sit back and go, oh, he's told us he loves it here. We can just relax. The Hawks have done this in the past, and they've got their pants pulled down. It can't happen. He has to be signed up. So this would mean, if we had that, we would have, in 2028, we would have Harvey locked up if we get that extension, an in-point guard, because if he gets on a 2-year deal, we'd have Blanchfield, have that local big signed up on a multi-year deal, and we have Froling. We'd have those 5. So we'd have a starting 5, potentially maybe Blanchfield coming off the bench, all right, locked up for 2028. All right, I think that's really important. We need to have more people locked up for 2028 because we know what happens with the Hawks players. Go to the big lights. Sometimes we can lose players very quickly. So it's important we need to get that done. All right. Then I would in 2028, this is why I'm saying maybe 2 imports 2027. Then they can go for 2 more imports in 2028 because they've got Harvey locked up as a local. They've got the import point guard locked up as a local. Then you can go for 2 more. And just throwing a name out there because we all love this guy, but I think he'd be a great fit. And Matt Mims. He said he's got a desire to play at the highest level in this country. And I think you'd get him at a great price as your 4th import. All right, he's a glue guy like HJ Lee. He's an upgrade on a local for sure, and he's happy to play a role. There's not going to be many other imports you're going to sign as a 4th import who's happy to sit on the bench. So, this guy was happy to sit on the bench in NBL 1. He didn't complain. This was his first pro contract, and he came to NBL 1. We got Lockie Dent, and then he was like, had to go back to the bench, and he arguably started playing better. Like, what an attitude. He's just a great guy. Already is in and around the team. The team absolutely love him. He plays great D. He can hit the 3 at a high rate. I just think he'll be a great guy, but that's what I'm saying. And then you can go for another big-time import. And that's 2028. We're starting to look pretty damn good with that. All right? Now, I want you to go first because I've been talking a lot. I want you to go 2027. So this coming season, who you're going to have as your squad for the Hawks? Because we do have a lot of players already locked up.
This is where it gets hard, and I want to backtrack on your thing. You don't get 4 imports. We only get the 3. But if we have Harvey and we lock him down to a marquee and we use our marquee tag on him, obviously we can pay him whatever we want, and only 270,000 of that goes towards our salary cap, which is great. It's a great initiative. It's a great rule. If that's what we end up doing with Sam, because he's obviously a local big, and that's how we retained him from going elsewhere and chasing the money, which he could have.
We got him to 2028. So
yeah, but then obviously after that, if you marquee him again, that only takes us down to 2 imports. So if you only marquee Harvey and Sam stays because Sam wants to stay, that's great. We've got 3 imports. I definitely agree. I think we need to nail an in-point point guard, whether it be, Jordan Crawford. He won a championship with Tasmania. He knows the league. He knows everything that the league is about. Obviously, PJC would be a dream because he's proven his quality, but he's obviously he's already locked into New Zealand basically forever now. I would obviously love to see Trey come back. I think he has unfinished business left in Australia. I think he needs to prove himself again in Australia, but he's been doing absolutely criminal things over in the Japanese B League at the moment, and he's been killing it. He's been absolutely.
It'll be hard to
killing
drag
it
him
over
back,
there.
but
I don't think we'll drag him back. But if you can find an import point guard that is a similar type of player to those that we've had in the past that have proven that we can win, whether it be that a Trey Kell type player, an Ian Clark type player, someone who can score the ball when it's needed, but can really free up Harvey's game. And that's what it's about. You really need to find someone that frees up Harvey's game for him to just catch and shoot. He's not a point guard.
That's why Kell was so good, because he just unlocked Harvey for his best season ever.
And that's what you need. But I'd be running Harvey at the 2 like they have been. I'd be running Wani at the 4, Wani at the 3, sorry, because he's that 3-and-D bloke. I can still see them running Mason at the 4. I see them running Froling at the 5. And then our bench, we've obviously got Greeter, Todd, Hickey. I can see Bawali opting in for his option. He might go play G League again. I don't think he'll get that call up. That's me. But I can see him taking that contract, which would keep him through to the end of the 2027 season. Some other guys I want to throw in the mix. Elijah Pepper, he's coming off contract. I don't think he's going to get anything behind David Duke Jr. I don't think he's going to get anything behind Jaron Riley, because that's nepotism at its finest.
He was spectacular last night, Pepper. Can shoot the hell out of the ball.
He had an absolute blinder of a game. And someone else that I'd love to see, and I'd love to see him back in the colours, and it's hometown Red Fanta Pants, Angus Red Dog, Mick Glover. Probably, it's unlikely. Maybe we'll see what happens. But then you obviously need another local big in there as well. And you know what? Jonah Bolden would be great. Harry Froling would be great. Someone that just brings it anytime. Doesn't matter how many minutes that they need, but can stretch the floor, can provide relief. You can play a little bit of a smaller ball lineup. You can play Todd, Bawali, Hickey, Peatling, and like this stretch, and kind of have like a really real mix of defense, athleticism, shooting, scoring, finishing touches, whatever else it may be. Go ahead with your 2027, because 28 is the one that I really want to talk about.
So, yeah, well, I think 2028, that's why I think we need to start. This is a big off season, like I said. We got to lock some people in, and Harvey obviously is a key to getting that extension, because it does open opportunities to get more imports in there. And I know you talked about the marquee. I probably wouldn't look to marquee Froling, all right, like just because I think it can limit your options. You want those import options. I think Froling is probably going to be keen to stay at the Hawks regardless. Yeah. So I'm not too sure whether the marquee, and I'm not too sure if many other teams would want to marquee Froling anyway. But I think we probably try to stay away from that, and just Harvey will be the guy if you wanted to marquee someone. That would be the marquee. But my 2027 Hawks, I would have Froling as a starting 5, and I'd really, really go hard for one of these free agent stretch 4s. And obviously, everyone loves Sam Menango, and I love him. I think he'll be the one that you dream to have, and lots of people have been talking about it, and he'd be amazing. But he's a chance to get drafted in the NBA, I believe. There's chances that you could sign him and he could go elsewhere, a bit like Lucky Albridge. Now, you either put yourself in there and go hard for him, a bit like we did with Matt Hurt, and then get burnt and not get him, or you go, you know what, let other teams fight for Menenga, and let us go in hard and be the maybe only 1 or 2 teams that show some love for the other Sam Wardenberg. Now, Sam Wardenberg has a very similar skill set. Now, people have forgotten about him because he had a lot of injuries this season, but he is a very, very good player, and he's a stretch guy. I think he complements Froling beautifully. All right. I don't even know if you have to. He's a guy who'll be an NBL sort of guy for his whole career. You're not going to have to worry about losing him potentially elsewhere, and he's a quality player. And I think if you show him a bit of love and maybe give him you probably wouldn't have to give him as much money as you give Menenga. And I think he could be a really great fit at the Hawks. And even though obviously everyone loves Menenga, he's quality. I'm not going to lie. Menenga's probably at the moment a better player, but let's be realistic. All right. And who's going to be the guy who might stay with us for longer? I think Wardenberg would be a great fit at the 4. Wani, obviously, at the 3, lockdown man. Harvey at the 2. Need to lock in a quality input point guard and someone who is proven, I think, at NBL level and lock him in for 2 years. It's hard to get someone who's not proven at NBL level and get him on a 2-year deal. I think it's important we get that import locked in because we got burnt with Kel. And I think, obviously, Kel will be the guy we love. He's that big guy who gives matchup nightmares to the small guys like PJC, KD, and Cotton. Like, I think he would give those guys nightmares, but we may not get him. But we've got to get someone who's a quality import point guard. And obviously, names are going to get thrown around, but I think that's a key. Then we'd have Peatling off the bench as a backup 5. Toddy, he played a lot of 4. He could allow us to play small ball. Shooting small ball big time, and I'll talk about in that in a second. Gridder, our man, hopefully has trajectory, keeps going. Hickey coming off the bench as that point guard to give us spark. Then I'm looking at, like you said, I think Glover, former Illawarra guy, get him back in there. I know people are like, it's unlikely, but I don't know why. When he was there, it was a different regime. Apparently, the coach at the time wasn't interested in him being there, but it's a different coach this time. I think Tatum would love Glover, love the style of play, love who he is. He's like a Mason Peatling, but a guard. So I think he would absolutely love him. Peatling got the Coach's Award. And then I'd be going for a shooter in Pepper. I think if he's available and he can, we lacked some shooting this year. Think of this as a potential team on the court. Pepper, Glover, Harvey, Toddy at the 4, Wardenberg at the 5. All of them can shoot. All right, that's a pretty damn nice looking team. And like teams would be like not know where to look. We could run up a big score very quickly with that 5 on the court. So obviously, like there's guys like Sean McDonald, who is a great player coming off an injury, and Majuk Dang, but I think they're very likely to stay at Tassie. Majuk Dang, a very interesting guy because he's another guy who can stretch the floor with the 3, plays with plenty of emotion, and sort of guy that teams hate when he's not on your team, but I think the Hawks fans would love him if he come and played for us. But I think it's unlikely. All right. But what that does then, that team, which is a pretty nice looking team on paper, that 11, I'm not going to lie, especially if you get a really strong import guard.
Yes.
Still only 2 imports, Harvey and that guy. Gives us room to sign that import mid-season. If someone goes down with injury or we need a little bit of a spark, just like Sydney did with Torrey Craig, and you don't have to pay.
Did it with Jenkins.
Yeah,
Southeast Melbourne did it with Clark.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay them as much because they're not paying a full season. You're just paying month to month, and you're not paying like a $500,000 straight up contract for the season. You might get them for three or 4 months at $80,000 a month or something, and perfect. But it gives us room to do that. And I still think even if you didn't, that's a pretty nice looking team. And if you get a couple of those guys on multi, it just sets us up for 2028. That's what I'd love to see. But I think the key is the point guard, and I go really, really hard for Wardenberg because I think a lot of teams are going to go hard for Menengo. You don't want to go hard and then lose him and then someone else gets this guy. I'd play it smart and go for the guy that maybe not everyone's going to go for.
Yeah.
And snap him up and make him feel like he's wanted and loved. Yeah. And get him, and he might be like, oh, let's go. Everyone's talking about my other mate Sam, the other fellow Kiwi brew, and this team's shown me some love on a show, and he come with a chip on his shoulder, and who knows? I think it's worth it because I think the reality is we're probably not going to get Sam Menenga because a lot of teams are going to want him. So I think you go for Wardenberg.
Yeah, and just to throw a few names out there. Obviously, you've got quite a few big names that are free agents this year. Sam Menenga, Will Magnay, can't see him moving anywhere. If not, it's an NBA call-up.
And again, not a great fit for the Hawks.
No.
Because he can't shoot the 3.
Exactly.
So not a great fit. Great player, though.
Wardenberg, Glover, Shawnee Mack, as you said, Tanner Krebs stretching the floor.
Can shoot the ball.
Elijah Pepper, a big name, and I'm going to come back to it. Majok Deng, obviously, you've mentioned that. Alex Dukas, NBA champion. He can prove himself in either league. Matt Kenyon, Kyle Adnam, I don't want him back. Sean Bruce, Mojave King. Obviously, we talked about Jordan Crawford. But the big name, and it's really interesting because we've seen it a lot with quite a few of these people that are taking that step up from this NBL 1. They're really proving themselves in this smaller league before they get to the big time. And we've seen it a lot. We've seen it with Johnny Narkle. We've seen it with Dan Greeder. We've seen it with our boy Hickey. We've seen it with Matty Mims. We've seen it with Todd. A name that I'm really interested in watching, and he's just signed, and it's Alex Higgins-Tisher. Now, he's a free agent. He's coming over here. He's playing with Bankstown. It's going to be really interesting to see. Obviously, Rain Smith, that was a huge name that was dropped, and he's signed with Maitland.
Confirmed. So I think
it got confirmed that Rain Smith's going to Maitland. But I like, congratulations to Maitland, but I can't see Rain Smith moving to a different team. I can see Alex Higgins-Tisher being something that a team can have a young core and a young youthful core. Because let's be real, Harvey's not going to be around for long. You're not going to have an in-point guard around for long. You really want someone that you can start trying to build around for this next generation moving forward. And someone like your Wardenberg and your Higgins-Tisher, or Wardenberg and Pepper, or even Higgins-Tisher and Pepper. They're kind of these guys that we need to start looking at, these younger guys, to start pairing with these middle-aged guys of, your Frawlings, your Warnies, your Greeders, that can start mentoring these younger players and bring them up.
And I just thought of something as well, and we haven't thought about this. The NBL is looking to expand.
Yeah.
All right.
Other teams.
And if we don't get these young guys, or start thinking about these young guys, these expansion clubs are going to give them a chance, and we're going to look silly for not going for them. So that's a big, big thing, I think. So,
and I think, I definitely can see us running with an in-point guard for the 2 years. I can see Harvey naturalizing, becoming an Australian and not moving anywhere, and us locking him in for quite a few more years until he's pretty much done. And he's like, that's it. I'm done. I've had enough. I'm just going to retire now from basketball professionally, which awesome. Play NBL 1, do whatever you need to do, stay on as an assistant coach, whatever it is. He's going to be an Illawarra guy. I can see it for life. Matty Mims coming in there, being that guy off the bench. But a name, and I want to drop it before we go, because he said that he wants to come back, and the only clubs that he will come back to are Adelaide and Illawarra, and it is our man Antonius Cleveland, and I can see them going for him, Corey. I can see the Hawks making a play, because Adelaide do not and will not need him, and will not go for him.
I think he's the sort of guy, that's why I'd be happy with the 2 imports that you could get mid-season. Because
easily.
See how he's going and where he's at now. I think he's still killing it. And whether he said he wanted to come back, maybe he wants to do a little bit later. I'm not too sure how old he is. I know Torrey Craig's sort of in the later ages of his career.
Yeah.
I don't know what age bracket AC, maybe he's talking about a little bit later on. But if it's, I don't know, it'd be great to see when he answered that question, what time frame he's looking at coming back to the NBL. But he did say he wanted to come back to the NBL. But we're going to wrap it up, mate. But we've got probably going to have a little bit of a break. We probably won't come back until there's the preseason NBL 1 Blitz, mate.
I don't believe that we're playing it. However, we have got quite a few things in the works with all of our NBL 1 stuff.
And there's apparently...
Oh, mate, don't you wait.
A big signing coming up. So we might make some announcements on our socials. And I think the Hawks probably do need to make another big signing, because the NBL 1 is absolutely...
The East is where
legit.
It is the East is where
season.
it is at.
And if the Hawks don't make another big move, we could be left behind, because there's some absolutely fantastic players in this. So, mate, wrap it up for us, brother.
Corey, it's been fantastic. As we said, NBL 1 East season. East is where it's at. Caleb Fogarty and the team over there have got an absolutely enormous round installed for absolutely everything that is coming up. I cannot wait personally. I know you cannot wait. We are all looking forward to packing out the pit.
Pack out that pit.
That is right. Back at the Snake Pit, where it all started 48 years ago, Corey. 48 years, mate.
Wow.
Can you believe it? My daddy's older than the club, which Big Matty D, happy birthday to you. It is your 50th on Thursday, and we're going to celebrate nice and hard after winning our Division 3 premiership at Touch Football. But Corey, it's been a pleasure as always. Obviously, we're not gearing up for another finals push, but hey, one story finishes, another story begins. NBL 1 East, it could be our year to bring another championship on a smaller level. Back home, back to the Illawarra, and start restoring some faith with these fans. But as the fans always like to say, Corey, fly your Hawks, baby.
Fly high.
Fly high.